Hello, I am the Ronin Pawn, and this is a pawn rant. Yeah, that's what we'll call it, sure. I've been sitting out on my couch just sort of talking to myself and working something through in my brain, and I realized I need to be recording this. So I want to share with you how to market a game successfully. If you're in the industry of making games and marketing games, I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know right now. The best way to market a game, okay, is to tap into the Let's Play and reviewer communities on YouTube. And here's how you do it, okay? First off, do not approach the big guys. You don't want to go to PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, Game Grumps, because number one, you'd have to pay them. And then they would have to disclose that it's a sponsored video, because there are countries in the world where if you don't disclose it's a sponsored video, you can't release that video. And it kind of feels like it discredits the person you're watching, at least from my perspective as a viewer. When you're watching somebody doing somebody paid me to make this video, just stay away from them altogether. You don't need to spend money. Instead, what you do, you look for channels that have, say, 100 to 200,000 subscribers, all right? And you're only looking for an active subscribership of about 10%, because 10% on YouTube is the norm. Let me tell you something. As a Let's Player, we don't feel like we're part of the industry, okay? We feel like we're on the outside of the industry, and if game developers and publishing companies actually contact us and say, hey, we really like your content, and by the way, don't do this in a scripted email. You got to be personal about it, because we do get a lot of those. But if somebody contacts us, like 2K Games, and says, hey, we saw your content, we really like your content, and we would like to give you exclusive access to, new version of our game that's coming out, or a game that hasn't been released yet, or something like a media group can be very good for marketing if you're going to do this. Bring a whole bunch of your creators into the same space and get them all talking about your game, get them all to sign a non-disclosure agreement so that they can only disclose the information that you want them to disclose leading up to the release of your game. They will be totally willing to do this, because they're just happy to be there. That's how we feel as Let's Players. We don't feel like we're professionals and like we're on the inside of the industry, and we don't recognize that we are the driving marketing force for the entire gaming industry. We feel like guys on YouTube who are just lucky, that people showed up and started watching us. And I'm just happy to be here. And oh my God, I'm being recognized by a major developer, and they want me on board to have an early access to their game. Oh my God. And then I start thinking about it, and I realize that if I have early access with this small group of people who are all in this same, media creation group, then I'm going to be one of a very few sources on YouTube who are going to have this content before anyone else does. I'm not going to be competing in the marketplace of YouTube to try and get viewers to come to my video instead of another video, because there's just a limited scope. This is beautiful. This is great. I'm going to see so many extra views. I'm going to get more subscribers. And I get to play a game from a major developer that hasn't been released yet and tell other people what I think of it. This is going to work out great for me. And then you have them sign a non-disclosure agreement so that they can't release information that you don't want released yet about your game. Okay? This is talking to the marketers now. This is how you do this. And then you use this network that you've created of Let's Players and reviewers on YouTube to disseminate information about the game in little bursts. Maybe once or twice a week over the course of 3 or 4 weeks leading up to the game. You give them special early access, but you give them special early access to certain things. In the NDA, the non-disclosure agreement, you tell them, don't talk about this yet, because we're going to do that on week 2. This is week 3, we want to focus on this. Maybe, if you've got a game that works this way, you give them a custom save file. A special save file that will only show the portions of the game that you want people to see. Just build hype and use this Let's Play community to disseminate little chunks of what the game is about as you're leading up to it. Something else to keep in mind though, make sure that these YouTubers, let's call them influencers, make sure that these guys know that they're playing an early special version of your game. It's early access, it's in the last weeks of development, and that the developers are still working on it and they're still bug testing it. So anything that they run into that doesn't work quite right, just tell them to ignore that because you're still patching it out, and that's completely legitimate. It's a completely legitimate claim. They are getting early access to it. You are working on the bugs. It's going to be a fully done product by the time it ships. Make sure that they understand that and that they ignore all of the bugs. And what this is going to do is it's going to create an atmosphere around your game's release that is just super hype. That everybody has seen chunks of this game, they've seen these YouTubers who are just excited to be here playing it and having fun and enjoying it and talking it up and saying good things about it, and they've seen nothing that's wrong with it because the YouTubers shouldn't be showing them things that are wrong with it. You're still tweaking it. If they find some part of gameplay that they don't like, well, you know what? We're still sort of balancing it. Just make sure that they're not saying anything bad about the game. Make sure that you keep them on the collar. Positive media right up until the day of the release of your game. And what you're going to accomplish is you're going to have had hundreds of thousands of viewers per channel, per YouTuber that you brought in, and all of it has been positive. And what people have seen is not just your game from afar, from a distance, but they've seen someone that they like and that they trust, and someone who they enjoy their content, playing it and enjoying this game. And if they had any reason in the world to not buy that game, it's gone. They have every confidence in your game now because they've seen someone who they trust playing it. And they had fun. And they were sitting there going, I wish I could have fun with my favorite Let's Player right now. The beauty of this is, you can have a game that's not even done. You can have a game that just barely kind of holds together. And as long as you do the marketing right, okay, you could take that money that you're going to spend on marketing and pump it into development time and put, 2, 3, another 6 months into making sure that your game is completely and totally finished. Or you can not spend that money at all, pump a fraction of it into the marketing, make sure you control this release, and then it just explodes and you make all these sales and all this money in the first day, in the first week, in the first month, and then if anyone even notices that your game is broken, it's going to be really hard for all those voices, all those influencers, the Let's Players and the reviewers who you drew in. It's going to be incredibly difficult for them to turn on their heels after the game releases with all those bugs that they ignored and all those problems and balancing that they were told will be worked out. If they're still there, it's really hard for them to then turn around on their audience and say, it's just not finished. They need another 2 to 6 months making it. It's going to be really hard for them to say that, and there's going to be all these reasons that they can justify not saying that. Games release, and then, there will be a couple of months worth of patches, and it'll be a great game at the end of the day. So if I come out and, really criticize it right now, I'm burning bridges that I just made with, a major publisher. I'm not going to do that. That's stupid for me. You can keep them on the line, and you don't have to do anything. You don't even have to do anything unscrupulous. You don't even have to set out with an intent to deceive them. As a marketer, you're just doing what makes the most sense. Get medium-level Let's Play reviewers on your side from the outset. Give them advanced early access, which makes them feel special. And then hand them your game. And then instead of putting the money into finishing your game, you can save all that money and make way more. Trying to hit that Christmas deadline, but the development team hasn't quite finished it yet? Don't push it back to February. Don't push it back to March. Just release it as it is. This way, where you get all these influencers on your side, telling their audiences what a great game it is, as they ignore all of the problems with it, under the promise that they'll all be fixed. And then, if you want to fix it, you could. But it's way more profitable to take your development team off of this project because it's done and you've already made your money, and move them over to the next one. And rinse, wash, repeat. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how to successfully market a game in today's world. And it's a horrible thing. And most of these influencers don't realize that it's happening to them. Because they are just happy to be here. Thrilled that you guys showed up. And when some legitimizing agent of this larger industry shows up on their front door and says, we want to give you special access. Well, they're instantly your friends. They're instantly someone who you want to do right by. And no one has to do anything devious, you know? I've painted it kind of in a devious way, but no one has to do that. All you're doing is what makes the most sense from a marketing perspective. If you're really smart, though, you'll build your whole game development model around getting a game that's almost done, and then having your development team, unwillingly, they will be fighting you. They will be saying, we're not ready. Just rip it out from under them, send it to market, control the review, the press, make your money, and then pull your development team and send them over to the next project. And the great thing is your development team will just be so happy to be there that they won't realize how hard they worked to get into a AAA gaming position, only to lose any true creative control and end up putting unfinished games into the market with their names on them. We need to wisen up as an industry, because there are players involved here who are in it for the money. They've done nothing wrong. They're investors, you know? They saw that the gaming industry was making more money than Hollywood. Oh my God, there's a place to put my cash. There's a place to invest. You know, smart people started up game studios who had no interest in games, you know? It's just a thing to make money. You got publishers out there who clearly are not interested in putting quality games or adding art to the industry. They're just there because there's a business here, and looks like there's quite a bit of money. They've done nothing wrong. They're just following market forces. But we need to be wise to these market forces. We need to be wise to the people who aren't necessarily, you know, cackling evilly behind closed doors and smoking cigars and saying, we got them again, but who, simply because their agendas don't include making good games, making games that are finished and not just passable. We need to be wise to that, because otherwise we become a force in the industry that makes the industry less. And I'm talking to both Let's Players and reviewers and influencers. I keep doing the air quotes thing because I hate that frickin' term. I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to the developers. I'm talking to the teams that are working on making the games. You need to be wiser about this industry that you're in. Especially if you're working for a company, especially if you're working for a AAA company. They're not in it for the reasons you're in it. They're not in it for the love of the art, for the love of games, because they have these amazingly fond memories of growing up and having these experiences that took them to a different world or a different place while they were just sitting in front of a TV and a console. They're not in it for that. They're in it because there's a profit there. And there's nothing evil about that. But as long as we are childish about it, as long as we pretend like everyone has the same goal in mind, we're not accomplishing our own goals. You worked hard. You learned a lot in order to be able to make these games. And now what are you doing? It's a day job. You show up, you do the work, someone else tells you when you're done, pulls it off of your desk, and what you would have called art is just a product that gets shipped out to a consumer who gets a half-finished thing, and you're assigned to a new project. Can you take pride in that? Is this where you want it to be? Is it really worth staying? I know it took a lot of work to climb the ladder to the AAA industry, but look around where you are now, because gamblers go broke throwing bad money after good, not realizing that this is not working. This isn't what I got in this for. Are you where you wanted to be, doing what you wanted to be? Is it art you're making? Or is it a product? And is that product the best you can make it? We need to grow up. If you're a Let's Player, if you're a reviewer on YouTube, small or big, you need to recognize you are in the industry. You're not an outsider. If somebody comes along and says, we want you to be part of a special group, that's fine. But recognize you're already there. They are coming to you because you are the most powerful force they have to sell games. Don't get all starry-eyed that you're finally getting recognition. This industry has changed. And right now, the people who are the most powerful force in terms of selling games are the most easily manipulated group because we don't see ourselves as such. Don't go for a ride. They're taking you somewhere that benefits them. Not because they're trying to manipulate you, just because they've got an agenda. Get your own agenda for the sake of your viewers, and have that agenda be, I'm going to be real. Yeah, the only real problem with this system is that everyone has an agenda, and it's very clear, except for the Let's Player and the reviewer, the YouTuber, the influencer, and their only agenda is to be here, for which they are happy. And I am happy to have been here to tell you this. I am the Ronin Pawn. And this has been a Pawn Rant. Please, be real. Pawn out.